Hăīre, φίλε, and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at John chapter 5, verses 6 through 7. Sorry for the extremely zoomed up perspective on the camera today. I am recording in a completely different environment, and I can't get the camera any higher than this. So let's go ahead and get started. Last time in John chapter 5. And here is our rubric. Well, let's go through the reading. Touton idon ho Jesus kata keimenon kai gnus hoti polun ede chronon eke. Lege autoi, theles hugies genestai, apekrite autoi ho astenon kurie, anthropon uk eko hine hotan tarakthei to hudor bale meis eis, that is, tein colum bethran, en hoi de komai ego, alos pro emu katabaine. There we go. Here we have a participle as our first verb of sorts. The omega nu we know is the nominative singular, and this is from oida. It's got to be from oida, which is a perfect in form. Or is it an aorist in form? Now I don't remember. It's a past tense in form, but it's active in meaning. So we've got nominative, singular, masculine, because ho Jesus is our subject, and this is present, active. Sorry about the shaking camera. Yeah, it can't be helped, unfortunately. Participle. Seeing, touton is our demonstrative object, accusative, singular, masculine, with kata keimenon as the referent. We've got omicron nu there and mu epsilon nu tacked onto kata keomai. I wanted to say eo because epsilon iota right there. This is a deponent verb. And this is present tense. So same form as that, but present deponent participle. And this word means the lying down one. Kai, nous, omicron, upsilon, sigma. This is an aorist participle form, but also nominative singular. Masculine. Both of these are referring to Jesus. So, Jesus seeing the one lying down and knowing, hoti, what is he knowing? He's knowing the direct statement. Polun, upsilon, nu right there is a masculine form of polus, polu, and I don't remember if it's polea or some other form. But what is polun referring to? Well, we've got chronon right there, omicron nu for accusative, singular, masculine. Matching with this one, accusative, singular, masculine. Ede is an adverb, going with the time. And eke, epsilon, iota, we've seen that form enough to know present active indicative. So don't need to parse it. But what we have going on here is Jesus is realizing a state of the man's existence rather than he's possessing time, because eke is often used to express condition, specifically involving sickness here. So we should assume that he has had the sickness much time already. Go ahead and translate that and join you again momentarily. And correct the camera. Sorry. All right, and jumping back, lege is another word that we've seen many times before. Don't need to parse that any more than we need to parse autoi. We should all know that by sight quite easily. When we enter Jesus' direct discourse with theles, epsilon, iota, sigma for the second person, singular, off of the present stem of the Koine version of the word. The Attic version is ethelo, with the epsilon at the beginning, which means they do form differently when you get into the past, is with the Attic form, epsilon at the beginning, contracting with another epsilon, the augmenting vowel, we would get an eta, but I don't think it happens in Koine. Sometimes they'll keep the old patterns, but can't give you a specific instance. So second singular, present, active, indicative. Hugies, eta sigma there for the nominative singular masculine of this adjective. Genestai, sigma, theta, alpha, iota is our present deponent infinitive. So hugies is our word that means well, specifically referring to the physical condition of someone, rather than like bonus in Latin. Our quotation ends here, and because of how shaky the camera gets when I write things down, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to, for the duration of using this table and this setup, I'm going to explain, run through verbally, and then cut out the sections where I'm actually writing things down so the camera doesn't shake too much. So I'm going to not come back to that yet. Apokrithe, we've seen that before many times. Don't need to parse it, so I'm going to risk putting a line right there. Autoi, again, don't need to parse it. Ho astenon, we've got omega nu there for nominative, singular, masculine, present active participle, that word that we've seen in the last few verses, meaning the sick one. So the sick one answered him. Kyrie, we've got epsilon there for evocative, singular, masculine, referring to Jesus. And I think I'm going to pause here, write down what we have, and then come back. Okay, and I'm going with lowercase ord here for the Kyrie because this man does not acknowledge Jesus as God. So there are a couple instances in the Gospel of John where you could justifiably translate it the same way that the Tetragrammaton or Adonai is translated in the Old Testament with large lowers, ORD, in reference to God's name. But not here because we don't see an expression of faith in this man, an expression of knowledge of who he is, as I think we see in Mary Magdalene elsewhere in the Bible. But anyway, moving on to what he's saying. Anthropon, omicron nu there for our direct object. Omega there for our first person singular form of echo, taking anthropon as its object. And then hina is going to be introducing a result clause. In this case, I do not have a man, so that, with the result that hoton is often used for whenever, indefinite time. Trakthe, eta sub iota there from, this is that word we had, taraso maybe, or tarato. I forget which it was in the previous pages, but with this theta, eta, we have our aorist passive form, so that whenever may be stirred. I wanted to say may, but I don't think that is actually subjunctive in form, because just thane, with the sub iota, I think it's just normal. So hoton with an indicative. To hudor as our subject, to telling us that with this passive form. Ballet, here's where we get the subjunctive with that's a bit off though, because this verb with hoton should be subjunctive whenever the event happens. But then we would also want to have a subjunctive in here, but I think that's indicative. If I am wrong, I will put a note down to correct myself later. But ballet, here we do have a third person singular aorist subjunctive. We know aorist because of the single lambda, and then future can't take subjunctive. May is our accusative as the direct object of ballet, and then eis tein kolum bethran is a prepositional phrase, place into which eis taking the accusative. While writing it down, I realized what's going on is this is in the indicative because he's talking about a reality, or at least what he thinks is a reality. As I think I talked about previously, we don't know for certain whether or not the mention of the angel of the Lord stepping into the water is a real thing, or it is merely a attempt to describe things. Whatever the case may be, this man believes that the water is stirred and that people are healed, and we could thus infer that something has happened, that the water has been stirred, that people have entered and have, at least apparently, if not in reality, come out healed. So he's talking about a reality here, but the man to put him in is still only a possibility. So it's an unreality, hence the subjunctive. But moving on, in prepositional phrase, hoi right there from hos he hon, hos he ho, the relative pronoun. So en with hoi right here is actually talking about time, but he's saying not in which time, but with the idea before the time. I myself come, allos another, pro emu before myself, pro plus the genitive, kata baine, epsilon iota there in the present active indicative. He's just saying before I can get in, before he can drag himself in, since there's no one to carry him in, somebody else beats him to it. and presumably exits healed. So there we have that. Let's take a look at it in its own context. Seeing this lying down man, Jesus, and knowing that much time already he has been sick, says to him, "Do you want to become well?" Answered him the being sick man, "Lord, man I do not have, so that whenever the water is stirred, he might put me into the pool. Before which I myself come, another before me descends." And there we have that. I'm going to move this over there where it should have been. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that the next few videos in this format don't bug you too much and that the echo's not too terrible. Have a good day.